A group of casino workers just broke their silence about which slot machines have the worst payouts on the floor. What they're revealing about these 6 specific games could save you thousands of dollars. And the casino industry is scrambling to do damage control. By the end of this video, you'll know exactly which machines are designed to drain your wallet the fastest and why the mathematics behind them are far more brutal than most players realize. These aren't just bad bets. These are machines that insiders say cross the line into predatory territory. Wheel of Fortune is arguably the most recognizable slot machine brand in the world. The iconic wheel, the familiar logo, the sound of that wheel spinning. It's been a staple of casino floors for decades. But the triple extreme spin version that IGT released is a masterclass in how to use a trusted brand to disguise a terrible game. Casino workers who maintain these machines report that Wheel of Fortune Triple Extreme Spin has a base game RTP that hovers around 85 to 87%, depending on how the casino configures it. That's shockingly low for such a famous brand. But the real issue is how the bonus wheel feature is structured to create massive excitement while delivering minimal returns. The game's main attraction is the triple wheel bonus. You need to land 3 or more wheel symbols to trigger it. When you do, you get to spin up to 3 different wheels that can award cash prizes, multipliers, or additional spins. It sounds incredible. 3 wheels means 3 chances at big money, right? Here's what insiders discovered after years of watching players. The feature is programmed to trigger approximately once every 150 to 180 spins. So if you're betting $2 per spin, you're spending somewhere between $300 and $360 just to see those wheels spin. And when they finally do, the vast majority of the time, you're walking away with between 20 and 50 times your bet. Do that math for a second. You spend $300 in spins to trigger a feature that pays you $40. You just lost $260. But because you got to spin 3 colorful wheels with exciting music and animations, your brain registers it as entertainment and progress. Casino floor managers observed a pattern that repeated constantly. Players would sit down at Wheel of Fortune Triple Extreme Spin because they recognized the brand and trusted it. They'd grind through terrible base game returns for an hour or more, finally trigger the triple wheel feature, win back a fraction of what they'd spent, and then immediately start the cycle again because they convinced themselves the next bonus would be the big one. There's a story that really captures the problem with this machine. A woman named Patricia visited the same casino every Friday afternoon for over a year. She had a routine. She'd cash her paycheck, set aside money for her bills, and bring $200 to play Wheel of Fortune. She loved the brand because she'd watched the TV show growing up. Floor staff noticed Patricia because she was so consistent. Same machine, same day, same amount. After about 14 months of this pattern, a supervisor who knew her fairly well asked how she was doing on the game. Patricia said she figured she was breaking even or maybe down a little bit, but the entertainment was worth it. The supervisor had access to her player card history. Over those 14 months, Patricia had put approximately $11,200 through that machine. She'd won back about $8,900. She'd lost $2,300 chasing those triple wheel bonuses, and she had no idea the losses were that significant because the brand felt safe and the bonuses felt exciting. Casino insiders specifically call out Wheel of Fortune Triple Extreme Spin because it represents a betrayal of player trust. People see that Wheel of Fortune logo and assume they're playing a quality game with fair odds. Instead, they're playing one of the worst RTPs on the floor, and the triple wheel feature is designed to create maximum excitement while delivering minimum returns. The brand recognition is being weaponized against players who don't realize what they're actually up against. Buffalo is another iconic slot machine brand. The original Buffalo game by Aristocrat was a massive hit and remains popular to this day. But Buffalo Gold Revolution takes everything that made the original game appealing and twists it into something far more predatory. Workers who programmed and maintained these machines reveal that Buffalo Gold Revolution has a base game RTP around 86 to 88%. That's already concerning, but what makes this machine particularly dangerous is the Gold Buffalo collection mechanic and how it's designed to keep you chasing an ever-moving target. Here's how it works. As you spin, Gold Buffalo symbols can appear on the reels. These symbols collect in a meter at the top of the screen. When you collect enough Gold Buffaloes, you trigger the free games feature. Different casinos set different thresholds, but typically you need to collect somewhere between 15 and 25 Gold Buffaloes to trigger the bonus. Sounds straightforward, right? Collect the symbols, trigger the bonus, win money. But insiders point out several problems with how this system is actually programmed. First, the Gold Buffalo symbols appear randomly, but they're weighted to show up more frequently when you first start playing. Floor supervisors noticed this pattern repeatedly. A player would sit down fresh, and within their first 30 or 40 spins, they'd collect maybe 8 or 10 Gold Buffaloes. They'd get excited because they were already halfway to the bonus. Then the Gold Buffaloes would dry up. They'd spin another 100 times and only collect 2 or 3 more. Suddenly, triggering that bonus required way more spins than they initially thought. By the time they finally collected enough to trigger the feature, they'd burn through far more money than the bonus would ever pay back. Second, the bonus itself is structured to be disappointing more often than not. When you finally trigger those free games, you get a random number of spins with random multipliers applied. Technical documentation shows the game is weighted to give you the minimum number of spins about 60 to 65% of the time. So after collecting Gold Buffaloes for 200 spins, you trigger the bonus and get 8 free games with a 2x multiplier that pays you 35 times your bet. You just lost a massive amount of money. Third, and this is what really bothers insiders, the Gold Buffalo meter doesn't reset between sessions if you use a player card. The game remembers how many you've collected. This creates a psychological trap where players think, I already have 12 Buffaloes collected. I can't quit now. I'm too close to the bonus. Casino managers watch this trap work perfectly over and over. A player would collect 15 Buffaloes, run out of money, and leave. They'd come back 2 days later, see they still had 15 Buffaloes in the meter, and convince themselves they were starting with an advantage. In reality, they were just picking up where they left off on a losing proposition. One case stands out. A man in his 50s played Buffalo Gold Revolution almost exclusively for about 16 months. Staff noticed him because he talked to other players about his strategy. He kept detailed notes about how many Gold Buffaloes he'd collect per session and how much the bonuses paid. After 16 months, he sat down with one of the pit supervisors and showed him his notebook. He'd calculated that he'd triggered the bonus feature 47 times over those 16 months. The bonuses had paid an average of about 43 times his bet. He'd been betting between $2 and $3 per spin most of that time. The supervisor pulled up his player card data. In 16 months, this man had put $68,000 through Buffalo Gold Revolution. He'd won back about $56,000. He'd lost $12,000 chasing Gold Buffalo symbols and triggering bonuses that never paid enough to overcome the terrible base game RTP. The most troubling part? The man genuinely believed he had a strategy that was working. He thought his detailed notes gave him an edge. He couldn't see that the game was systematically designed to make him feel like he was making progress while ensuring he lost money over time. Insiders warn against Buffalo Gold Revolution because it takes a trusted brand and adds a collection mechanic that's specifically engineered to exploit human psychology. The visible meter makes you feel like you're working towards something. The fact that it saves your progress makes you feel invested. And the random nature of when gold buffaloes appear keeps you hooked because the next spin might be the one that gets you closer to the bonus. It's all carefully calculated to keep you playing a game with awful math. Lightning Link is a series made by Aristocrat, and Happy Lantern is one of the most popular themes in that series. The game has a Chinese New Year aesthetic with bright red colors, golden coins, and festive music. It seems fun and celebratory. But this machine has a hold and spin mechanic that insiders say is designed to create an illusion of constant winning while your bankroll steadily evaporates. Casino technicians report that Lightning Link Happy Lantern has a base game RTP around 86%. That's brutal. But the real problem is the Lightning Link feature itself and how it's programmed to trigger frequently while paying poorly. The feature activates when you land 6 or more special coin symbols. Those coins stick to the screen and you get 3 respins. Every time you land another coin, your respins reset back to 3. If you fill the entire screen with coins, you win the grand jackpot. If you fill most of the screen, you can win the major, minor, or mini jackpots. Here's what makes this so insidious. The feature triggers relatively frequently, about once every 70 to 90 spins depending on your denomination. So you're never too far away from seeing that exciting Lightning Link feature activate. The screen darkens, the coins light up, dramatic music plays. It feels like you're about to win something significant. Then you get 3 respins, no additional coins land, and you collect whatever was on your initial 6 coins. Industry data shows this happens approximately 70% of the time. Your 6 coins might have values ranging from 5x to 20x your bet each, so you collect maybe 60 to 90 times your bet total. Sounds decent, right? But you just spent 80 spins at $2 per spin to trigger it. You spent $160 to win $120. You lost $40, but the feature was so exciting and visually stimulating that your brain doesn't register it as a loss. It registers it as a win because you triggered a bonus and collected prizes. Every once in a while, maybe 1 in every 25 or 30 features, you'll get lucky. You'll land enough additional coins during your respins to fill most or all of the screen. These features can pay several hundred or even a few thousand times your bet if you hit one of the progressive jackpots. And this is the hook that keeps players coming back. Floor managers describe something they call the Lightning Link effect. When someone hits a big feature, everyone around that bank of machines sees it. The coins filling the screen, the progressive jackpot climbing, the player celebrating. Everyone else thinks, that could be me, and either sits down to play or keeps playing if they're already there. What observers notice is that players rarely consider how many disappointing features that lucky person triggered before hitting the big one. They only see the exciting result, not the hours of losses that came before it. A particularly concerning case involved a young couple who discovered Lightning Link Happy Lantern during a weekend trip. They loved the theme and thought playing together would be fun. They took turns spinning, cheering each other on, ordering drinks. They were having a great time. Over the course of about 5 hours, they triggered the Lightning Link feature probably 30 to 35 times based on how long they played and their bet size. Most of those features paid small amounts. One person hit a feature that filled about 2/3 of the screen and paid around 400 times the bet, which was roughly $800. They went absolutely crazy celebrating. They took photos, called their friends, felt like they'd beaten the casino. Staff later estimated, based on their play patterns, that the couple had put approximately $6,000 through the machine during those 5 hours. With the $800 big win and all the smaller features, they probably walked away down about $3,500. But because of that one exciting feature, they left feeling like winners. They told people about their big score without mentioning the massive net loss. This is exactly what Lightning Link Happy Lantern is designed to do. Trigger features frequently enough to keep you engaged. Pay poorly most of the time to ensure the house makes money. Deliver occasional big features to create memorable moments that bring you back. The festive theme and constant action distract from the mathematical reality that you're playing a game with terrible odds that's systematically designed to take your money while making you feel lucky. Insiders specifically warn that the Lightning Link series in general, and Happy Lantern in particular, represents a sophisticated evolution in slot machine psychology. The games are incredibly effective at making you feel like you're winning, even when you're losing significantly. And that might be more dangerous than a game that's just obviously bad. Dragon Link is another series from Aristocrat, and Panda Magic is one of the newer themes that's been rolling out across casino floors. The game features cute pandas, bamboo forests, and peaceful Asian-inspired music. It looks friendly and approachable, but insiders say this machine might have the most deceptive bonus structure they've ever seen. Technicians who work on these machines report that Dragon Link Panda Magic has a base game RTP around 85 to 87% depending on configuration. That's already terrible, but what makes this machine uniquely problematic is how the multi-level progressive system is designed to make players think they're one spin away from a massive jackpot when the reality is completely different. The game has 4 progressive jackpots: mini, minor, major, and grand. The grand jackpot typically starts around $10,000 and can grow significantly from there. Players see that number displayed prominently, and their brain immediately starts fantasizing about winning it. The Dragon Link feature triggers the same way as Lightning Link. You need 6 or more special symbols, then you get respins with those symbols held in place. If you fill the screen, you win the grand jackpot. If you land 15 or more symbols, you get the major. If you land 12 to 14 symbols, you get the minor. If you land 6 to 11 symbols, you get the mini. Here's the scam that insiders identified. The feature is programmed to trigger about once every 80 to 100 spins. So you're triggering it regularly, which creates engagement and excitement. But programming documentation shows that approximately 85% of the time, you'll trigger the feature with exactly 6 symbols, fail to land any additional ones during your respins, and win only the mini jackpot. The mini jackpot is usually between $15 and $30 depending on your bet size. So you're burning through 100 spins, triggering the Dragon Link feature, getting incredibly excited because you think you might win thousands, and then you collect $20. The psychological letdown is massive, but instead of recognizing this as a loss, players immediately think, I was so close. Next time, I'll get more symbols. What makes this even worse is how the feature is animated. When you trigger it, all 4 progressive jackpot values flash on the screen. Dramatic music builds, the symbols glow. It genuinely feels like any of those jackpots could be within reach. Then you watch your 3 respins tick down with no new symbols landing, and you realize you're getting the minimum prize. Employees describe this as manufactured disappointment. The game is designed to get your hopes as high as possible, right before showing you that you won almost nothing. And behavioral psychology suggests that this kind of near-miss experience is actually more addictive than simply losing, because your brain focuses on how close you came rather than the actual outcome. The major and grand jackpots do hit occasionally. Insiders estimate the major hits maybe once every 800 to 1200 features, and the grand hits maybe once every several thousand features. But players don't think about those odds. They think about the fact that someone, somewhere won the grand jackpot, so why couldn't it be them? One story really illustrates the danger. A retiree became obsessed with Dragon Link panda magic. He loved pandas and thought the theme was charming. He started playing casually, but quickly became fixated on winning the grand jackpot. Over 11 months, he played this machine religiously. Staff observed him there 4 to 5 times per week, playing for several hours each session. He triggered the Dragon Link feature hundreds of times during this period. The vast majority paid the mini jackpot. He hit the minor maybe a dozen times. He hit the major once, which paid around $1,500, and convinced him his strategy was working. After 11 months, he reviewed his bank statements and player card history. He'd lost approximately $38,000. He never came close to filling the screen for the grand jackpot. That one major jackpot win of $2,500, which felt so significant at the time, was just a tiny fraction of his overall losses. The most heartbreaking part was that 3 weeks after he finally stopped playing, someone else won the grand jackpot on the machine he'd been playing. He'd spent 11 months and $38,000 chasing it, and then a tourist won it after playing for 20 minutes. Casino insiders specifically warn against Dragon Link panda magic because the progressive jackpot display creates an expectation that's almost never met. You're chasing grand jackpots that statistically you'll never hit, while the feature constantly triggers and pays minimum amounts. The cute theme disguises some of the most predatory mathematics in modern slot design, and the psychological manipulation of building up hope and then delivering disappointment is something several workers said made them uncomfortable to witness repeatedly. Scarab is made by IGT, and it's become increasingly popular over the past few years. The game has an ancient Egypt theme with golden scarab beetles, pyramids, and mysterious symbols. It looks exotic and adventurous, but this machine has a free spins feature that insiders describe as one of the most frustrating designs they've ever encountered. Workers who maintain these machines report that Scarab has a base game RTP around 86 to 88%. That's bad, but not the worst we'll discuss. The real problem is how the free spins feature is structured to create maximum frustration while delivering minimal returns. The free spins bonus triggers when you land 3 or more scatter symbols showing a scarab beetle. When you do, you're taken to a picking screen where you select from various scarab symbols to reveal how many free spins you've won. This is where the manipulation begins. The picking game is designed to make you think you're in control and making strategic decisions. But insiders confirm that your picks don't actually matter. The number of free spins you'll receive is already determined the moment the feature triggers. The picking game is purely theatrical, but it makes players feel involved and makes them think their choices impact the outcome. Documentation shows you'll typically receive between 5 and 12 free spins, with the average being around 7 or 8. That's already not many spins, but here's where it gets worse. During the free spins, scarab symbols can land on the reels. When they do, they transform into wild symbols and remain wild for the rest of the feature. This sounds great. The more scarabs you collect, the more wilds you have, the bigger your wins should be. Except the game is programmed to rarely give you scarabs during the free spins. Internal data suggests that in roughly 70% of free spin bonuses, You'll collect 0 to 2 scarab symbols. With so few wilds on the reels, your free spins pay almost nothing. The feature is programmed to trigger approximately once every 120 to 150 spins. So you're spending 150 spins betting $3 per spin, burning through $450, finally triggering the free spins you've been waiting for, and then you get 8 free spins that collect 1 scarab symbol and pay you $40 total. You just lost over $400, but because you triggered a bonus and got free spins, your brain registers it as a positive experience. Every once in a while, maybe 1 in every 20 or 25 bonuses, you'll hit what players call a good collect. You'll get lucky and land 5, 6, or even more scarab symbols during your free spins. The reels fill up with wilds, and suddenly you're hitting line wins on every spin. These bonuses can pay 200, 300, or even 500 times your bet. This is what keeps players coming back. Floor supervisors observed a pattern where players would trigger disappointing scarab features over and over, getting increasingly frustrated, but refusing to quit because they remembered that one time, the feature paid really well. They convinced themselves that another good feature was coming soon. One case that stuck with staff involved a woman who worked as a teacher. She'd come in on weekends to decompress from her stressful job. She discovered scarab and loved the Egyptian theme because she'd always been interested in ancient history. It became her go-to machine. Over the course of about 14 months, she played scarab nearly every Saturday afternoon. She'd typically bring $300 to $400 and play for 3 to 4 hours. Staff noticed her because she was so consistent and because she'd visibly show frustration when the free spins features paid poorly, which was most of the time. About once per month, she'd hit a free spins feature that collected a lot of scarabs and paid several $100s. These wins would get her excited and motivated to keep coming back. She interpreted these occasional good features as evidence that her luck was improving. After 14 months, she mentioned to a staff member that she was concerned about how much she'd been spending. The employee, who had access to player card data, suggested she review her total wins and losses. When she did, she was shocked. She'd put approximately $23,000 through Scarab over those 14 months. She'd won back about $19,000. She'd lost $4,000. She'd triggered probably 150 to 180 free spins features during that time. Maybe 10 to 15 of those features had paid really well. The other 140 or so had paid almost nothing. But her brain had latched onto those good features and convinced her she was doing better than she actually was. Insiders specifically warn against Scarab because the free spins feature is designed to be disappointing most of the time while delivering just enough occasional good results to keep you chasing them. The picking game creates a false sense of control. The Scarab collection mechanic makes you feel like you're working towards something, even though it's all random. And the exotic theme disguises the fact that you're playing a game with poor RTP and a feature that rarely delivers meaningful returns. It's a perfect storm of psychological manipulation backed by brutal mathematics. Jin Qianhua, which translates roughly to money frog, is made by Aristocrat, and it's the worst machine that insiders say is currently widespread on casino floors. This game has a Chinese prosperity theme with golden frogs, coins, and symbols of wealth. It promises good fortune. But what it actually delivers is some of the most predatory programming in the industry. Technicians who work on these machines reveal that Jin Qianhua can be configured with a base game RTP as low as 83 to 85%. That's catastrophically bad. For context, that means the casino is keeping 15 to 17 cents of every dollar that goes through the machine. Over time, That adds up to massive, systematic losses for players. But the low RTP is just the beginning. What makes Jinqianhua uniquely dangerous is something insiders call the false volatility problem. The game is programmed to have extremely high variance, which means long cold streaks, followed by occasional big hits. This creates an addictive boom and bust cycle that keeps players trapped. Here's how it works. The game has a free spins feature that triggers when you land 3 or more scatter symbols. The feature is programmed to trigger very rarely, approximately once every 200 to 250 spins. So if you're betting $3 per spin, you're burning through $600 to $750 just to see the feature trigger once. When it finally does trigger, you're awarded a random number of free spins. The game makes a big deal about this, with dramatic music and animations. Then, the free spins play out, and according to internal data, approximately 60% of the time, they pay less than 50 times your bet. You just spent $700 to win $120. You lost $580 on a single bonus cycle. But here's the trap. Every so often, maybe 1 in every 15 or 20 bonuses, the free spins feature catches fire. You'll hit a series of lucky spins that pay 200, 300, or even 500 plus times your bet. These big wins create intense emotional highs and convince players that the machine is due to pay or that they've figured out when it's hot. The reality is that the game is simply programmed with high variance. The big wins are random, and they're statistically offset by all the disappointing features and terrible base game returns. But human brains aren't good at understanding variance and probability. We see patterns where none exist. We think we're on the verge of another big win when the math says we're just slowly losing everything. The Chinese prosperity theme makes this even more insidious. Many players from Asian communities are drawn to this machine because of cultural associations between frogs, wealth, and good luck. The symbols and imagery tap into deeply held beliefs about fortune and prosperity. Players think the theme itself might bring them luck, not realizing they're playing one of the worst RTP games available. Floor staff observed this repeatedly. Players would sit at Jinqianhua for hours, burning through buy-in after buy-in, convinced their luck was about to change. When they finally hit a big free spins feature, they'd feel vindicated and think their persistence had paid off. They wouldn't calculate that they'd already lost far more than they'd just won. One case haunts multiple workers who came forward. An elderly man became fixated on Jinqianhua. He believed strongly in feng shui and symbols of prosperity, and the money frog theme appealed to him deeply. He was convinced the machine would eventually pay him the fortune he deserved. Over 19 months, he played Jinqianhua obsessively. Staff saw him there 5 to 6 days per week, often for the entire afternoon. He'd bring $500 to $800 each session. He'd play until it was gone, often not hitting a single free spins feature during his entire session. But every few weeks, he'd get lucky. He'd trigger a free spins feature that paid $800 or $1,200, and he'd leave feeling like a winner. Those big hits kept him coming back even as he lost steadily overall. After 19 months, family members became concerned about his gambling and convinced him to review his finances. With help from player card data, they calculated that he'd put approximately $142,000 through Jinqianhua during that time. He'd won back about $114,000. He'd lost $28,000 chasing good fortune on a machine named Money Frog. The family was devastated. The man's retirement savings had been significantly depleted. And the worst part was that he still believed the machine was lucky because he remembered all the big wins. He couldn't see the mathematical reality of his losses, because the high variance and emotional peaks had distorted his perception. Multiple insiders specifically say Jin Qianhua represents the worst of modern slot design. Brutally low RTP combined with extreme variance creates a highly addictive experience that systematically drains bankrolls while delivering just enough big wins to keep players hooked. The cultural imagery exploits deeply held beliefs about luck and prosperity, and the rare but significant payouts create false memories of success that override the obvious pattern of long-term losses. Several technicians said they wish this machine didn't exist. They described feeling guilty watching players pour money into it day after day, knowing exactly how the programming was designed to exploit human psychology and probability blindness. One worker said that maintaining Jin Qianhua made them question whether they wanted to continue working in the casino industry at all. So there you have it. 6 slot machines that casino insiders say have the worst payouts and most predatory designs currently on floors. From Wheel of Fortune, triple extreme spins, disappointing triple wheels, to Buffalo Gold Revolution's psychological collection trap. From Lightning Link Happy Lantern's illusion of constant winning to Dragon Link Panda Magic's manufactured disappointment. From Scarab's frustrating free spins to Jin Qianhua's catastrophically low RTP and variance trap. The common thread through all these machines is psychological manipulation backed by brutal mathematics. They're not just games with bad odds. They're carefully engineered systems designed to exploit how human brains process rewards, near misses, and probability. The colorful themes, exciting sounds, and frequent features are all calculated distractions from the fundamental reality that the house edge is always working against you. So what should you do with this information? The honest answer from every insider who spoke up is simple. The best decision is not to play at all. But if you're going to gamble, set strict limits before you start, never chase losses, and understand that no machine owes you anything. The graphics and themes are there to distract you from the math, and the math never lies. If this information was valuable to you, subscribe for more insider casino content that the industry doesn't want you to know.